Okay, so we're going to kind of take percentages back to the basics. How do you go from percents to decimals? You can divide by 100. What else can you do? So for example, if you have like 34%, how can you turn that into a decimal? You're right. So you're going to move the decimal left twice. Because here's the decimal technically. It's always after the whole number, right? So if I move it left twice, this becomes 0.34. So 34% is 0.34. Yes? Or divide by 100. And if you see in the calculator, if you do 34 divided by 100, it gives you 0.34, which is the correct decimal. So either of those works, yes? What if I give you 7%? What would that be as a decimal?
0.07.
Yeah, you're going to move it twice. And remember, any empty loop-de-loop gets a 0, so this becomes 0.07. What about 100%? What's that as a decimal? It's just 1, because if I move it twice, I just get a whole number 1. Okay, so then if I want to go from a decimal to a percent, we do the opposite. So we move the decimal right twice. Or what's the opposite of divide? Multiply by 100. So if I have 0.7, what would that be as a percent? We'll move it to the right twice, and I get 70%. What if I have 3.40? 340%. Okay, any questions with those? Okay, the reason this is super important is because percents, if you're plugging percent into a equation and solving, you have to put it as a decimal. Or if you're solving for the percent, it's going to give you a decimal and you have to turn it back into a percent, okay? So we have to remember how to do that. So let's get started. So the first 4, we like these because they literally help us set up the equation. They walk us through it with words. So it says the number 63 is, what does is mean in like an equation? Is what percent? This is what we don't know. So we're going to use x of 72. Now of is telling you to multiply. So times 72. Well, how would I solve that? We're trying to get x by itself. You're exactly right. Divide both sides by 72. So we can get rid of this 72 over here. And we get 63 divided by 72, which is 0.875. So I get x equals 0.875. Now, what am I solving for? What did I not know? A percent. So what do I have to do to this? Move the decimal right twice, and what's my percent? 87.5%. Okay, I want y'all to try example 2 while I take attendance. It's just the same thing. We're missing Xavier, right? Right there. When you're finished, check the board to see if you got it correct. Any questions with those types of problems? Okay, so let's look at the second two. They're very, very similar. Okay, so this one says the number 120 is means equals 15%. Can I just plug in 15? What do I have to turn it into? A decimal, so I get 0.15 of times what number? Well, we don't know, so x. Well, how do I get rid of multiplication? Yes. Because it said percent. Anytime it says percent, you have to turn it into a decimal to plug it into your equation. So this is multiplying. How do we get rid of multiplication? So I'm going to divide both sides by what's next to my x, so I can get x all by itself. And I get 120 divided by 0.15, which gives me 800. Now, is this a percent? No, I already knew the percent. So 800 is your answer. There's no percent. There's no moving decimals. The only time you do that is when you're solving for percent. So y'all try example 4. What's 5% as a decimal? 0.05. Just be careful. Sometimes y'all get going and y'all will put 0.5, and that's actually 0.50. It's 50%. As you finish, check the board and see if you're right. Okay, so let's look at the pie chart. I know this is kind of hard to see, but it's cats at 23%. What should pie charts always add up to, all the percentages? 100%, okay? What percent of pets owned in the United States are cats or dogs? Well, cats was 23, plus dogs was 19. What does that give me? So I know cats or dogs was 42%. What percent of pets owned in the United States are not birds? So you could do it that way. Does anybody think about doing it a different way? So she was saying you add up all the things that aren't bird. You could just subtract it from 100. If we know the whole circle makes 100 and birds is only 4%, what's 100 minus 4? So it's 96% of animals owned was not birds. Now it says in 2014 there were 396.12 million pets owned in the United States. How many of these were cats? So I'm just asking, well, what was my percent of cats? So all I'm asking is what's 23% of 396.12 million? So 23%, so 0.23 times the total. And it says round to the nearest tenth. So that's going to be 91.1. How would I label that? What did it say? Round to the nearest tenth of a million. And then what animal are we talking about? I can't spell million apparently. Okay, so I want y'all to try example 6. Bless you. You can check your work on the board. Now, is there a reason, why did I put 75.3 and not 75.2? You have to round correctly. So always pay attention to what's after where you're stopping. Yes? So I'm stopping at one place value. Always bring whatever's after that, because that could make that number round up or stay the same. Yes? Cool. Any questions on the front? We like the front. Front was pretty simple. Okay, let's flip to the back. It's a little different. Okay, so when we're talking about discounts or markups, what's the difference? What's the difference in a discount versus a markup? What does a discount do? It takes money off, right? It makes it cheaper. What does a markup do? It's pretty much the same thing. It just goes the opposite way. It's going more expensive versus less expensive. Yes? So knowing that, you can solve both of those problems, markup or discount, the same way. So this is when we're talking about discounts and we're given the percent and the original total. So if I'm given the percent and the original total, I have to find the actual discount first. So the way we find the discount is your percent times original cost. I'm just going to put money for cost. So on this one, to find my discount equals, well, what's my percent? And how would I write that as a decimal? 0.2 or 0.20, either way, times 140, my original cost. And when I multiply, I get 28. So that's my discount, because it tells me find my discount, or what is my discount, and it says what is my original price. Okay, so I found the discount. So how do I find my new price? Subtract 28 from 140. So I'm just going to take my 140 minus 28, and what do I get? Now, what if it was a markup? Well, your first step would be the same. You'd find the percent marked up, how much it was marked up. What would be the difference here? You would add. That's the only difference. Okay, so if you ever see something that said it was marked up 20%, like if this was marked up 20%, we would have done 140 plus 28, and that would have been our answer. Okay, so just remember to find your new cost. It's just your original cost minus the discount. Discount. I can't spell. I think I've wrote this word so many times. That says discount. Yes.
Is it always going to be word problems?
For the most part. This whole unit is a lot of word problems. It's my favorite. It's not my favorite either. Okay, I want y'all to try number 8. It is just like number 7. You're going to follow those same steps. As you finish, check your work on the board. Any questions about these types of problems? Not too bad, right? Okay, so the next one, the next types of problems, says the tuition and fees cost of attending a public four-year college rose from $4,020 in 1996 to $7,610 in 2011. Find the percent of increase. So were we given the percent? No, that's what we have to find. But first, it says find the percent of increase. Well, how much did it increase? That's what we have to know first. How do I find that? Subtract. Okay, so I'm going to take, to find my increase, I have to take my new cost minus the original cost. Right? So my increase is going to be 7610 minus 4020. And I get 3,590. Now I'm not done. That's just my percent of increase, or that's just my increase. Now if I want to find my percent of increase, okay, well the increase, it's going to be the increase equals the percent times original cost. Because we're trying to find what percent of the original cost equaled this increase. So my increase equals what percent, we don't know, of the original cost, which was 4020. How do I solve that? Divide both sides by what?
89%.
So I get 8930, and this is round to the nearest tenth. So when I turn it into percent, that's, here's the decimal, and what would that be? 89.3%. Okay, so again, I want y'all to try number 10. Follow the exact same steps. Try number 10. Okay, check the board whenever you're done. Any questions on those? Well, it says round to the nearest tenth. I put it here to know if I need to round the 6 up or leave it. So move my decimal twice, and then 3 does not make the 6 go up, so I just brought the 6 to my answer. Any questions with those? Okay, the last type of equations are a little different, but they're not terrible. They're actually simpler to solve. They're just a little more confusing on why we set them up the way we set them up. Okay, so we're talking about movie screens in the US, and then this is the same except in Canada. Okay, so we're talking about how it went from analog film to digital, and it's increasing in digital, okay? Find the number of digital screens worldwide in 2012 if after 25% increase, the number in 2013 was this. So I know that this is my answer because that's after the increase. That's what it equals. But do we know the original amount? No, that's what we don't know. That's our X. However, this is our original plus 25%. So it's 100% of the original plus 25% of the original, right? So knowing that, how do I write 100% as a decimal? 1 plus, how do I write 25% as a decimal? Okay, pretty much this is 125% of what I'm looking for, because the original plus the 25% created this. So then I can just solve. This is the original, I don't know what it is. So I get 1.25x equals 111,809. And I'm going to divide both sides by 1.25. And it says round to the nearest whole number. Why do you think we're rounding to a whole number? Have you ever seen half of a movie screen when you go to the movies? No, you have to have a full movie screen. So what would this be rounded to the nearest whole number? 89,447. Okay, because remember we took 100% of the original plus 25% more of the original to get our new cost. And we didn't know the original, which is where that X came in. That's what we don't know, but that's what we just found. Okay, we're going to work the last one together. It says the fastest growing sector of digital screens. So same concept, find the increase, but this time in Canada, in the United States and Canada in 2012, if after a 7% increase. This was our answer. So after a 7% increase, we have this. We don't know the original. But the original plus 7%. What's 7% as a decimal? 0.07. So 100% of the original plus 0.07 more of the original gives me my new price. Now, what if it said it was decreasing by 7%? What do you think would be the only difference? Yeah, this plus would be a minus. It'd be 100% of the original minus 7%. Does that make sense? Okay, so knowing that, I get 1.07x equals 15782. Divide by 1.07. Now it says round to the nearest whole number. Well, this 5 tells me the 9 is going to do what? Round up, right? If the 9 rounds up, what's after 9? Meaning the 4 also has to round up. So my answer is 14,750 digital screens. Okay, then I'm going to point out something really quick on the practice. And then I'll put this back up here. On number 7 through 10, you're using this chart. Okay? It tells you the total amount spent per day on a mobile device is 162 minutes. So if you look at number 9 and 10, they're a lot like the first couple problems we did. Okay? It says what percent. Do we know what percent? No. What do I use for what I don't know? X. So what percent of the average time spent on a device? Well, what did we just say that was? So times 162, because remember of tells us multiply, equals is devoted to games. Well, how many minutes does it say we spent on games? No, look here. Somebody said it. 52. That's how you're going to solve number 9 and 10. Okay? Now, if the average minutes is 162, what should all of these add up to? 162. Okay, this is what you're working on. If you have questions, what should you do? Ask. I want you